Today, we are going to delve into the rich history of Albania. Let's begin with some context. Albania is located in southern Europe, right here, on the western part of the Balkan Peninsula. The Albanian ethnic group, making up 98% of the country's population, consists of two subgroups, the Gegs in the south and the Tosks in the north. Albanians have a long-standing cultural heritage based on the unwritten customs called the Kanun, which date back to the laws of the Illyrian tribes in the 3rd century BCE. Kanun says that there are 4 pillars of conduct: honor, hospitality, right conduct, and kin loyalty. The Kanun, after years of invasion and communist suppression, is not widely practiced anymore. In fact, it's illegal, largely for its discriminatory rules against women. Sorry, ladies, but let's get back on track. Albania was conquered by the Ottoman Turks in the 15th century, during which the Ottomans cut them off from Western civilization for over 400 years. In the late 19th century, Albania began to remove itself from Ottoman rule and began developing nationalist movements, founding the Albanian League in 1878. During this period of national reinvention, the Albanian League revived Albanian education and developed a national alphabet based mostly on Latin script. Ismail Kemal declared Albanian independence from the Ottoman Empire in 1912 and became the nation's first prime minister. During World War II, armies of Austria-Hungary, France, Italy, Greece, Montenegro, and Serbia invaded Albania and occupied it. During the Paris Peace Conference, Britain, France, and Italy made efforts to partition Albania among the three, but U.S. President Woodrow Wilson vetoed these efforts. So, in December of 1920, Albania gained entrance to the League of Nations and became an officially recognized state. The country was split into conservatives under Ahmed Bey Zogu and liberals under Fana Snoli. After a popular revolt by the liberal forces in 1924, Zogu fled to Yugoslavia, while Noli became prime minister and worked to establish a Western-style democracy. However, Noli's rule lasted only 6 months, as he never received international recognition, and he attempted an overly ambitious modernization program, even though Albania was kind of broke. So, Zogu quickly overthrew Noli with the support of Yugoslavia, and on January 6, 1925, became King Zog. Yes, King Zog. Zog ruled until 1939 and brought some stability to Albania with the support of his coalition, an Ottoman-style bureaucracy, efficient police force, and Italian money. But life was not that peachy, as Zog struggled to deal with Albania's most pressing issue of land reform. In order to starve off starvation, the government imported grain annually. All of this led to social unrest and the creation of some communist groups. We call this foreshadowing. In 1939, Italy invaded and successfully conquered Albania and used it as a military base to invade Greece, though this didn't go so hot. And when Italy invaded, King Zog fled. What is with this guy in fleeing? Italy's fascist policy fostered class division, as Italy sought to integrate the Albanian elite into Mussolini's new Roman Empire. When Nazi Germany defeated Greece and Yugoslavia in 1941, the regions of Kosovo and Chameria were joined to Albania, creating an ethnically Albanian state. Later, in 1943, Nazi Germany replaced Italian forces occupying Albania. As you can expect, the Albanians warmly welcomed these foreign influences and showed them to their thrones. Yeah and no. In November 1941, communist groups, which began during King Zog's reign, merged to form the Albanian Communist Party, which aimed to fight the foreign occupiers as a unified resistance force. The Civil War from 1939 to 1944 was a struggle between the National Liberation Movement, the National Union, and the National Zogite, as they each sought to liberate the country from foreign control. In January of 1944, the Communists seized control, and that's when Enver Hoxha, the founder of the Albanian Communist Party, was named national leader. Shortly later, in November 1944, the state created under Nazi Germany ended, as the Germans withdrew from Albania. Kosovo was then reincorporated into the Serbian portion of Yugoslavia, and Chameria into Greece. These changes marked the beginning of communist Albania under Enver Hoxha. Let's learn a little more about this newly crowned dictator. Enver Hoxha was born on October 16, 1908. His nickname was Uncle Enver, but he wasn't really your classic uncle. You'll see why later. He was educated in France and wrote a communist newspaper called Le Humanite while he was there. His father was an imam, or someone who leads prayers in a Muslim mosque, which is a little strange considering Albania became the first atheist state under Hoxha's rule. Hoxha's rule centered on 2 things: industrialization and immense control. The Albanian economy was revolutionized under his government. Agriculture was collectivized, meaning farmland was confiscated from wealthy landowners and gathered into collective farms. Industry went from being non-existent to the source of over half of the nation's gross domestic product. Electricity became widely available, epidemics declined, and literacy rates skyrocketed. So then people loved Hoxha, right? Well, not exactly. Hoxha used brutal Stalinist techniques to exercise extensive control over the country. To start, he killed about 6,000 people, jailed 34,000, and internally exiled 59,000. But don't worry, he didn't kill everyone. Just anyone he didn't like, anyone who disagreed with his ideas, and anyone who threatened his power faced severe consequences. Even people you'd think he would like weren't safe. He killed the person who gave him the scholarship to study in France, and someone who allowed him to live rent-free in his apartment. Heartless, am I right? Many aspects of social and cultural life were also severely restricted under Hoxha's rule. Private property was banned, religious institutions were closed, babies had to be named from an approved list. You get the idea. Even things like clothes and home furnishings were standardized. And to ensure that everyone and everything was behaving as he wanted, Hoxha created his own secret police, known as the Sigurimi. They were made up of about 30,000 officers, and many Albanians believed that they had access to a mind-reading device. Hoxha was also paranoid about foreign threats. The Albanian border was completely closed, and Hoxha created over 75,000 bunkers across the country in fear of being bombed. Determined to keep Albania away from foreign influence, he famously said, "We'll eat grass before we bow to the pressure from foreign powers." Emperor Hoxha died a tragic death by heart failure from diabetes. He was 76 years old. Hoxha's death led to a power vacuum that ultimately ended in the succession of Ramiz Alia. Alia sought to preserve the old communist system, but gradually introduced economic reforms and opened up diplomatic ties with Western Europe. He also granted citizens the right to travel abroad, curtailed the powers of the Sigurimi, restored religious freedom, and adopted some free market measures for the economy. In December of 1990, student demonstrations in the capital city of Tirana sparked the end of communism in Albania. Alia endorsed the creation of independent political parties, which signaled an end to the communists' official monopoly of power. In March of 1992, an electoral victory was won by anti-communist opposition led by the Democratic Party. Alia resigned as president, as was succeeded by Salih Berija, the first democratic leader of Albania since Bishop Noli. And in 1998, the constitution of the newly formed Republic of Albania was finally made official. Because Albania was so closed off during Hoxha's rule, many Albanians were unaware of what was happening in other countries. They didn't know about the revolutions of 1989, and some didn't know that the Berlin Wall fell. Western items were so rare that invaluable items like Coca-Cola cans were highly valued. They were so special that people often displayed them on their mantles. Bananas were also considered a luxury. When the nation opened up, fruit vendors had to teach many Albanians how to peel them. And if you're planning to drive in Albania, be careful. Since private cars were outlawed during Hoxha's rule, Albanians have developed a reputation for being terrible drivers. Basically, almost everyone in Albania has been living under a rock for 40 plus years. Despite this, you probably know quite a few Albanians. In fact, Dua Lipa and Ava Max are both Albanian and speak the language as well. Today, Albania has fully transitioned to a democratic nation. The current president of Albania is Bayram Begay, who is the 9th president and a retired military officer. Albania is a popular tourist destination, especially for foodies. It's largely affordable and has beautiful beaches and valleys. Well, that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed learning about Albania, and if you get the chance, you should definitely visit.